Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers, FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well this morning here, the 27th of January, 2025. Boy, never thought back when I was born in the 70s that I'd make it to 2025. I never really thought about the future. Did you think about the future when you were a kid? I thought about, space travel and those, the future. Never thought about my personal journey. Maybe that's me. I bet it's probably common. Who knows? I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Thanks for joining me here today. This show is Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. We're free, and there's a ton of ways to watch us. I'll get to that in a second. But remember, folks, this is a free show. We do this Monday through Friday. I host Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fensterman hosts on Wednesdays. Tell a friend. I mean, we're chopping it up here, having a good time, talking football, talking baseball. We'll continue to talk football until the Super Bowl is over, and then we'll transition things over to a more baseball-heavy approach. But we still talk at least half the show every day, baseball. We've got all the products over at FantasyGuru.com available right now. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner if you want to get signed up. And we just have a good time. We make jokes. We talk. We laugh. We sometimes open cards, packs of cards. Sometimes we share pottery. Sometimes we have fun on the show. Sometimes we play it straight. But tell a friend. If you're not going to subscribe with us, I think you're really missing out for not subscribing at FantasyGuru.com. But, I get it. Times are tough for some people, money, okay, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But at least help us out a little bit, share, retweet, like, that kind of stuff. We really appreciate it here on the show. Again, I'm Ray Flowers at FantasyGuru.com. You can find me on social medias at The Ray Flowers. So just type in at The Ray Flowers. It probably pops up. You can find this show, if you type in Fantasy Sports Daily or your podcast network, it'll show up. So you can go to Spotify or Pandora or, Apple Podcasts, like iTunes, all that. Fantasy Sports Daily should get you there. You can go to the website, FantasyGuru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top, and that will get you all the shows on the network, and including this one, which is free. You can get a link to One Man's Opinion, which is free, Ronald Marsal's podcast, et cetera, Justin Fensterman's Basketball Diaries. So check that out. Click the Elite Plus tab on the top of the page. And as I've said here, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. All the products are available right now. If you've got any questions, send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. Support at FantasyGuru.com and say, look, I'm looking to do this or that. I don't see this option. Is this an option? We're agreeable to crafting a scenario that you can win with. So hit us up, support at FantasyGuru.com. But if you do click that subscribe tab right now, we have the 3 baseball products available: seasonal DFS and wagering. The baseball package is rocking and rolling. It's head-to-head week. So we're going to have head-to-head articles up. Well, it's head-to-head and rookie week. It's a big week for the draft guide. So if you haven't signed up yet, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. We're going to release, head-to-head versus roto. We're going to have some winning tips and strategies if you're playing head-to-head. We'll continue to fill that out as we move forward. We're going to, let me make a note here about something. Just made a note about something. Maybe I'll pop that into the draft guide as we move forward. Basically, an article a day. That's, again, kind of what our goal is, and we've been fulfilling that, and that's kind of the expectation, article a day until the season begins. We'll have this week, as well as I noted, the rookie rankings. So we'll have the top 50 rookies for 2025. We'll have the pitching scouting reports for the rookies. We'll have the hitting scouting reports for the rookies. I mean, I think it's around 6,000 words, something like that, 7,000 words, something like that with the 2 pieces. So a lot of really exciting things coming down. Click that subscribe tab, top right corner. Get signed up for all 3 of the products, for 2 of the 3 products, or just the seasonal product if you'd like. Okay, let's get into it here. What are we talking about? We got to talk some football before we talk baseball. You can see it behind me. We got the Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium. I got to sit in the middle here. If I slide just a little bit, I'm kind of off-centered. I kind of did myself in by posting a photo like this for my background. But anyway. Oh, and by the way, if you're saying, what are you talking about, Ray? I'm listening to you on a podcast. You can watch the show live or on delay on anytime you want at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, at facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and on Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. So any of those 3 places you can watch the show live or any point of the day, because the shows don't disappear. They go on demand. You can also leave comments and questions throughout the show at those 3 positions. So Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter X. Send us your thoughts, and we'll discuss throughout the show. Oh, and one final thing. Head over to Twitter at @TheRayFlowers. I have a poll up right now talking about head-to-head and roto. Which do you prefer? If you want to answer that poll, I'd appreciate it. You can also leave a comment if you like, and we'll get a discussion going. But before any of the baseball talk on this show, we'll talk the 4 teams that played the 2 games on Sunday. A close game, a not so close game. We know the Super Bowl will now be the Eagles and the Chiefs. We'll talk about that. When we get to the time to talk about baseball, we'll talk about the Ryan Presley situation. He's now moving to the Cubs. The rankings have been updated at fantasyguru.com to reflect that change. The Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve news potentially with the Astros. Ronald Acuna, we got an update. Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Drew Thorpe, Trevor Bauer. So we'll talk all about that here moving forward. Okay, let's make my face a little bit bigger because who doesn't want more Ray Flowers in their life? Let's start out with the Commanders getting smashed by the Eagles 55-23. I think everyone there was a line of thought that the Commanders could win this football game, and I bought that. But I chose the Eagles to win the game, and I'm not surprised they did win the game, as we discussed here, as Jeff Mans discussed on the Elite Sports Show, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays. As I mentioned there too, I had to pick the Eagles. I didn't expect that they'd win by 30-plus points. I mean, that was the shocker. But this was a throttling, it really was. And, Jane Daniels didn't perform badly, but, he just the luck factor kind of ran out. I mean, the Commanders had an excellent season, better than anyone anticipated. They probably won 4 more games than anyone thought they would, maybe 5. Jane Daniels became a star in his rookie season. He ran for 48 yards and a score yesterday, threw for 255 and a touchdown. When you play a game and you still score 2 touchdowns and you have over 300 yards of offense, as he did, it goes to show you how good he is. We'll talk a lot more about Jane Daniels as we get ready for the start of the 2025 fantasy football season. But Jeff Mans has already predicted that Jane Daniels would be quarterback 1 on people's draft boards next year. Do you agree with that? I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm also not saying I don't think that could happen. So we'll talk a lot more about that as obviously months and months from now we get toward next year's fantasy season. On the ground in this game, the Eagles have a good defense. It was going to be tough for the Commanders to have success consistently, and they didn't. They didn't have any success on the ground. Daniels was a leading rusher. Robinson and Ekeler carried the ball 19 times for 51 yards. Didn't do anything there, so that didn't help. Interestingly enough, Austin Ekeler caught 5 balls, which is great, but 17 yards. Robinson didn't get in the end zone, didn't catch a pass. We talked a lot about this down the stretch. The rushing game for the Commanders, minus the 77 and 2 touchdowns that Robinson had recently. It was last week, right? The last month of the season, the rushing attack was Jayden Daniels. And that's something they'll have to address in the offseason and figure out how to better cause an opponent to have to account for that. Again, there were some issues on the offensive line and everything. But the bottom line is they weren't able to run the football in terms of passing the ball yesterday. Terry McLaurin had 3 for 51 and a touchdown. A little bit of a whimper to go out on. But he scored a touchdown. And, as we saw frequently from him this season, even when he wasn't producing 100-yard games, he was getting in the end zone consistently. Best quarterback play he's ever had. So it's not surprising he set a career best in touchdowns, Terry McLaurin. And as we talked about all season long, I was stupefied how as to week after week, people kept asking me if you want to start this guy. Do I start this guy? Do I start this? Oh, my God, yes, you start Terry McLaurin. And even yesterday when he didn't really do much, still had a touchdown. The big pass catcher obviously was Zach Ertz, 11 catches, for 104 yards. If Zach Ertz is catching 10 passes, you've lost. If he's getting 16 targets as he did yesterday, you've lost. So there it is. It's like this is all we got on the offense. We'll drop it off there. Zach Ertz looked like he was dying there about half the game too, right? Like he was really struggling to get through that game, but he had a massive game if you used him in the one and done scenario yesterday. I already previously used him when he caught 2 balls, so that didn't work out. I used Travis Kelce yesterday. We'll see how that went. So my one and done postseason, I have in a couple of leagues, hasn't gone great. I have players left, so I won't, not like I'm taking zeros in the Super Bowl or anything, because you can always use Noah Gray. But, plus I do have Dallas Goedert too. So I've got tight ends. But anyway, Commanders lose this game, didn't do much. The big story, obviously, on the other side was the Eagles, as you can see. If you watch the game, it was just utter domination. I mean, Jalen Hurts threw for a touchdown, 246 yards, looked pretty good as a passer. Not That was anticipated because the Commanders struggle against the pass. On the ground, 10 carries for 16 yards stinks, but 3 rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had 4 touchdowns yesterday. The Eagles had 7 rushing touchdowns. Like, there's teams that 7 rushing touchdowns this season kind of thing, right? They had 7 rushing touchdowns yesterday. 3 of them went to Jalen Hurts. 1 went to Shipley. 3 went to Barkley. Barkley caught 1 ball for 4 yards, only, quote unquote, ran for 118 yards, but got in the end zone 3 times. And Barkley's got a chance. He's the number 2 rusher all time. If you add regular season and postseason numbers together, Terrell Davis is in the lead. I think Barkley needs 70 yards, something like that in the Super Bowl to be the first back ever to run for 2,500 yards in the season, if you add the playoffs to the regular season. So he's cruising along, just a beast, an absolute beast. And this is why also Jalen Hurts, 246-1, okay, right? The 3 rushing scores. And I will say this, watching that game yesterday, that tush-push drive, or that's, where they had 5, 6, 7, 19 plays from the 1-yard line, and Luvu kept jumping over the line of scrimmage. Like, that's just bad for football. It's just like, I'm watching that going, oh, God. The referees have to say, if you do this again, we're going to give the touchdown to the Eagles. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, like, that's where we're at, number one. And number 2, I don't know the answer to this. I didn't look it up. I blew it this morning before the show. It's early on the West Coast. Who would have got the touchdown? Would it have been a team touchdown? Does it go to the quarterback? I got to look that up. I don't know the answer to that. But anyway, that was just bad football, bad TV. It just, ugh. Anyway, Barkley 3 rushing scores. Hurts had 3 rushing scores. Shipley had 77 yards and a touchdown. They brought him in late. If you didn't see the game, he had a 57-yard run and then scored a touchdown, and Barkley went crazy and all that. He wasn't part of the offense. It was just late in the game because they were resting Barkley. The pass catchers, Brown had 6 for 96 and a touchdown, having that big game we were all talked about him having. And DeVonta Smith, 4 for 45. He'll have to be a bigger weapon in the Super Bowl. Have to make a play there for the Eagles. And then Dallas Goedert, 7 for 85. Goedert was all over the place. He was getting penalties, generating penalties, catching 7 balls for 85 yards. A strong effort for Dallas Goedert in that victory, 55-23. So obviously the Eagles will represent the NFC, and the AFC will be represented by the Chiefs, who, if you're able to watch this show or you're looking at it anywhere with the video, you can see the Chiefs will take on the Eagles in the Super Bowl with a chance to become the NFL's first team to win 3 titles in a row since the 65, 66, and 67 Packers. Now remember, it's NFL titles. No team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls, right? 3 straight titles. Super Bowl, I'm saying that. And then I say, yeah, that's right. When was the first Super Bowl? Super Bowl 1? Yeah, I was right. Oh, right. Okay. Again, it's only 9:15 in the morning here. Sometimes I feel like I'm not with it this early in the morning. But yeah, no team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls. The Packers were the last team to win 3 straight NFL championships, 65-67. So I wasn't even alive, folks. Neither were you, probably. The last time that's happened, the Chiefs won 32-29. A good football game here. Obviously, the score was close. It was down to the last. I'm not a big, and we've talked about this over the years as warranted. I'm not a big referee, umpire, blow the game kind of guy. I'm just not. That's not where my mind goes. But man, right? Like, everyone was talking about it. It's all over social media. It's what, and I get it. I mean, that Josh Allen carry where the one ref was on the one side of the line of scrimmage of the line, and then he ran in and ran to the other side. And we have called for this. I don't know if we ever called for it on this show, on Elite Sports on Sirius XM. Again, that's Monday through Friday from 3 to 6. On that show repeatedly in articles, put a damn chip in the football. How hard is this to do? Apple knows exactly where I am in the world with my cell phone. We can't put a chip in the phone. We can find asteroids in space. We can find planets hundreds of millions of light years away, exactly where it is. I can't put a chip in the football. Like, when all these guys come running together, there's no, and then we'll go to replay. You can't tell. They're all you can see at that one play with Josh is his head. Like, you can't tell. To me, he's holding the ball right here. He got the first down. Now, whether that happened or not, well, you can't definitively see it. So according to the rules, you can't overturn the call on the field. True. But the referee did run like this. There's no debating that. He did not run straight. He ran like, put a chip in the ball. I say this all the time with replay. You watch the replay and 6 people out of the 10 will say yes, 4 people out of the 10 will say no. The replay doesn't do us any good. They're too fast, they're too big, there's too many moving pieces here. And at the end of the day, are we getting any closer to the truth? Anyway, so that's my take. Yep, I don't know. So anyway, the Chiefs won this game 32-29. Let's talk about it directly. Josh Allen, 237 and 2, 11 carries for 39 yards. Just not able to get over the hump. I mean, he's a great player. He could win the MVP this year. The Bills are always there. He can't beat Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's unfortunate because there's a long history with Buffalo. I mean, Kelly, right? There's a long history with Buffalo getting there, and it's tough. I don't know. I mean, I think that you can't. I don't want to take too much away, as everyone should take too much away from. Oh, he can't win the game, the big game. It's a football team playing a football game. It's not quarterback versus quarterback, right? So I hope people don't go too far in that direction. Josh Allen was fine. He was not the reason they lost yesterday. I've seen a lot of people talk about this, and this is an interesting scenario. James Cook, he scored touchdowns over and over again, right? 2 more touchdowns yesterday on the ground. He had 130 yards from scrimmage. He had 16 touches. Why are we giving 6 carries to Ty Johnson and 2 to Ray Davis? Okay, because we want to get guys involved. I get it. Why is James Cook not touching the ball more? James Cook was out there like half the snaps. It's just like Amari Cooper. He's out there half the snaps. Your season's on the line. Why is your best running back not playing more? Wasn't hurt. He looked explosive. He touched the ball. He's bursting in the open. He was healthy. So there's a lot of people questioning, the way the offense is run. And that, again, Cook was fantastic. 16 touches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It worked, but why wasn't it 22 touches? That's a question they'll have to answer here over the offseason. In terms of the pass-catching group here, Khalil Shakir came through, did his thing, 6 for 46, moving the chains. Should be that same guy next year for the team, barring a big offseason signing, and we'll see. Keon Coleman had 1 catch for 12 yards. I mean, he's a rookie. You can't take too much out of it. There were some plays here and there. There were also injuries. And frankly, there was not much performance. Now, a lot of people are making a big deal out of that, fade in the end zone that he didn't catch and everything like that. And, one play. But Coleman's just a guy, and he was a rookie, so it's not surprising he was just a guy. Amari Cooper played a little bit more, was a little bit more involved yesterday, but as we've talked about on this show multiple times, 4 catches for 33 yards for Cooper on his 4 targets. I have no idea what happened there. Amari Cooper went to the Bills, and they didn't play him. He wasn't on the field. He dealt with some issues off the field. We don't know what that is still. When he was out there playing, he was playing 20 or 30 snaps. He was playing not even half. He wasn't even out there. He was playing 35, 40% of the snaps. So we will see. His offseason is going to be fascinating. Will someone step up and give Amari Cooper, a 3-year, $60 million contract? Is he going to get 2 years, $14 million? What the hell is going to happen with Amari Cooper? It'll be fascinating to watch that development. Mack Hollins was the big playmaker yesterday, and 3 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown, a couple of long receptions. Great catch on the touchdown, by the way. And has been pointed out in the media a lot. Mack Hollins, I mean, you can make the argument that he was their best all-around receiver. Their best fantasy player and best receiver is Khalil Shakir. But their best all-around receiver, Mack Hollins. He can block. He's aggressive. He makes big plays. He can be utilized down the field. I want to say he's 32 years old, so he's not young, but has been pointed out too. Gabe Davis filled this role last year for the Bills and got paid a ton of money by the Jaguars. Mack Hollins might get paid this offseason, so good for him. We met him at the Super Bowl. Nice guy too, by the way. And he doesn't wear shoes. It's true story. He doesn't wear shoes. And then finally, Dalton Kincaid. I mean, there's been a lot said, and there will continue to be a lot said as we review 2024 and move on to 2025 in the fantasy space. But Dalton Kincaid was one of these tight ends, just a lot like Sam Laporta, that so much was expected from. And it was just, Kincaid, 2 catches for 13 yards. Kincaid and Trey McBride basically had the same ADP this year. One guy had 700 catches, and the other guy couldn't get to 700 yards. It wasn't an easy catch for Kincaid when, Allen was scrambling around. He chucked that ball up. But you're an NFL football player. You're paid to catch the ball. You got to catch that. You've got to catch that. I'm old now, but when I was, 25 years old, I'm catching that. I would have caught that at 25 years, and that's my bar. If I could catch that at 25 years of age, you should be catching it at 25 years of age. I don't even know. What's Dalton get 23? But the point is, he's got to catch that, and he didn't. So that was rough. But yeah, it was a continuation of a season for him that just didn't happen for Dalton Kincaid in year 2. And unless things change with the coaching staff, and they're not expected to, was rookie year going to be? Is it going to be a Kyle Pitts scenario where we saw it and we got excited about growth, and the future just didn't bring that growth? I don't know with Dalton Kincaid. The Chiefs again won this game 32-29. Just continuing. Andy Reid was basically run out of town because he couldn't win with the Eagles. There'll be a revenge game narrative that'll play out until the Super Bowl actually plays. Andy Reid knows exactly what he's doing. He will be elected to the Hall of Fame when he retires. Patrick Mahomes knows exactly what he's doing. He will be elected to the Hall of Fame when he retires. 245 yards and a touchdown for Mahomes. Was very efficient. Didn't make any huge, he wasn't flinging the ball 50 yards downfield, that kind of thing, but he just was methodical and made good decisions, as he always does. He hasn't turned the ball over in the second half of the season at all. On the ground, he had 11 carries for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't exactly lower his shoulder on that one rushing touchdown, but he lowered his shoulder on the one rushing touchdown. I mean, that's as most you'll ever see Mahomes run. That one score was I think it was a 12-yard run, right? Like it was a significant run. That was a Jalen Hurts run, or a Josh Allen run, or a Jayde Daniels run. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs got it done. And now we're with the Chiefs again with a chance to make history. Be that first team since the 60s to win 3 straight championships. And, there is a disconnect between the performance of Patrick Mahomes this season and his fantasy value. Because this season, he missed the last game of the season, so he didn't throw over 4,000 yards. But he didn't perform based upon our expectations in the fantasy space, which is fair. Totally fair. But he also was good for this. He was also good in 2024. He was excellent down the stretch, and we're seeing it in the playoffs. They're winning games. So we'll talk so much more about Patrick Mahomes and where he fits in the pantheon of quarterbacks in 2025. But for now, he's got his team in the Super Bowl yet again. On the ground, it was Kareem Hunt again. Isiah Pacheco is basically a breather back right now. He doesn't touch the ball. He didn't impress when he touched the ball. He had 7 touches yesterday. Did Pacheco for 24 yards. Whoop-de-doo. Kareem Hunt was the guy with the carries. He had 17 of them. He had a touchdown on the ground. This is a continuation of what we've talked about with Kareem Hunt being the guy in the backfield in the second half of the season, after we all thought we got a great run on a Kareem Hunt. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks. Pacheco's coming back. Let's hope it's a split scenario. In the best case, it's probably going to be, Hunt going back to 6 touches a week. Didn't happen. Pacheco coming back off that big leg injury. Mad props to him for coming back. But the Chiefs just aren't seeing it right now, and we're not seeing it right now either. On the pass catching side of things with the Chiefs, Xavier Worthy. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Xavier Worthy is the only trustworthy pass catcher on the Chiefs. Is he the only one? 6 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. He had a couple of carries. JuJu Smith-Schuster stepped up big. He had 2 catches for 60 yards. It was 2 catches, but he made 2 big catches now, running in the open field. Okay, that's scheming and all that, but he helped move the chains a couple of times with some nice catches. Marquise Brown had the first 2 catches for the Chiefs in this game, and then had 1 catch the rest of the game. That was great. Travis Kelce, 2 catches for 19 yards, bro. They were saving him for the playoffs. Well, they showed up last week in the playoffs. This week, not even part of the offense. And Jeff Mann's comment on this last week, Kelce he's lost the burst. And he still is smart and wily. He can get in the open zone. He can find the soft spots in the zones and all that. But he's not able to defeat strong coverage anymore. He's just not. But again, the Chiefs are winning games, and they're not, they only threw the ball to him 4 times. They weren't forcing it to him anyway. So the Chiefs are willing to win. And I think at this point, Kelce just wants to win anyway. I mean, he caught 97 passes this year. But that was, you would have thought, as did I and everyone else, that if the Chiefs win this football game, Kelce's catching 5 for 70, right? even if they lose this game, because what the thought was, if the Bills put up points in offense, the Chiefs would have to catch up, and they'd have to open the offense up. 5 for 70, man. 2 for 19. DeAndre Hopkins was added, much like Cooper on the other side. DeAndre Hopkins was added. He caught 1 ball for 11 yards. Now, Hopkins has lost the ability to separate. We all know that. But he had less targets than JuJu Smith-Schuster. Bottom line is the Chiefs continue to win, and it's rather remarkable because let's not forget, Rashee Rice was their #1 wide receiver. They lost their. We talked so much about Stroud losing Diggs and then Dell late in the year and how that. Mahomes lost his #1 wide receiver, Rashee Rice. His #1 or 2 weapon in the offense, Travis Kelce, as we talked about, caught 97 passes, didn't even get to 850 yards. Like, he's not the guy he used to be. Xavier Worthy didn't do anything for the first half of the season. JuJu Smith-Schuster hasn't done anything all season. They had DeAndre Hopkins. He hasn't done anything all season. Marquise Brown misses almost the whole season. Like, it's remarkable. Give Mahomes and Reed credit. They have won football game after football game after football game. Yet again, with the receiving core that, yet again, doesn't stand out. It's really remarkable what they're doing there. Let's look at some of the comments here. Rubby17, how about them Chiefs? Woo! Sean H, Eagles or Chiefs? Oh, boy. Angela says, darn the Chiefs. Go Eagles. Sean says, oh, the Bills coaching. Yeah, I know. Sean also says, chip in the ball and AI assistance for these blind refs. Yeah, again, I don't want to smash the refs. I mean, you know, it's easy to do. The fact is, they're doing an almost impossible job. These athletes are amazing. Go back and watch video from the 70s or the 60s. Those teams, that Packer team in the 60s, they get shut out 30-0 against the Chiefs. Like, come on, man. The athletes now are amazing. They're huge. They're exceedingly fast. And then you got these, you know, blind mice, 58-year-old referees. They can't keep up, man. They can't. And so I don't want AI. AI, no. That's not AI everything. The world is moving to AI, and it's like no one has ever watched Terminator. Has anyone ever watched Terminator? Rise of the Machines. We need to stop this reliance on machines. Stop. People are fine. We need to give people help, and I will throw the chip in the ball, as I said earlier, 100%. Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, I'm not a conspiracy nutcase. You know, I'm wearing a tinfoil hat or anything. But Rise of the Machines, folks. Every science fiction novel written in the last 50 years. But let's just put more and more on computers. I don't know. Sean says Allen doesn't have an alpha wide receiver. Well, no, he doesn't. Neither does Mahomes. A lot of teams don't. A lot of successful teams don't. And we talked about this last week. So Russell Clay and I think we talked about it on Friday, that a lot of teams have success without having alpha receivers. It's weird. A lot of teams don't have an answer. Even the Packers, right? They have all this success. They have all these guys, 5 guys catching pass. Not ideal. Angela says the drop was a heartbreaker. It was pretty bad, Angela. I agree with you there. Let's see here. The Bills D sucked, according to Angela. Well, they are facing the #1 coach and quarterback in football. So, you know, yeah. A little bit beat up defensively. They lost their defensive back. I'm forgetting his name, too. They made a big deal of that on the broadcast. That certainly didn't help. Going to here. Sean and Angela having a good conversation. Yeah, see, Sean, you're right. Terminator will probably happen. Dun, 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 dun. You know, that wasn't very good, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, see? Chris said, Skynet, anyone? That's right. If there's a company that called Skynet that starts doing anything, I'm out. I'm moving to Mars. So we can't do that yet. So there's our review of football. We'll continue to look at some football on a daily basis as needed. We'll obviously preview the Super Bowl and review it when it happens and all that. You all getting ready for you have your wings ordered? You got your Super Bowl plans yet? We'll talk all about that stuff moving forward. Let's talk some baseball here on the show. We're also here for that. And again, go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for the product over at FG, DFS, wagering, seasonal. Get all 3, get 2 of the 3, get 1. Did you think I was going to middle finger here? I didn't middle finger anybody. I went #1. You always know an old baseball player, too, when they go 1 out or they go 2 outs instead of 1 or 2. because people can't see you, so you use this because it's from a distance versus 2, like when you're telling people how many outs are. Anyway, let's talk some baseball. One of the bigger storylines of late, and we even touched on this on the show last week, is the fact that Ryan Pressly was going to get traded. That was the thought. There were reports saying that he was traded, or Bob Nightingale strongly suggested he was going to get traded. Bob ends up being right in the end because finally Pressly agreed to waive his no-trade clause and go to the Cubs. So Mr. Hodge of the Cubs, he's plummeted down the rankings over at FantasyGuru.com. Pressly fired up the rankings at FantasyGuru.com. Brian Abreu over with the Astros, his ranking went up at FantasyGuru.com. So a lot of moving parts here in terms of the value of players and the rankings for 2025. And remember, as I'm noting here, when these moves, trades, injuries, playing time, this stuff happens, the rankings can be updated as often as daily over at FantasyGuru.com, and it might be multiple times in a day. Within 24 hours, these things are done. So it's not like Ryan Pressly signs on Sunday, or the trade happens on Sunday, and then Friday this week we get to it. Nah, we're getting to it right away. So they're always updated. So that's another benefit you have with the rankings at FantasyGuru.com. Pressly goes from a relative nobody in a mixed league to, a must draft. And his skills are still rock solid. He's going to be the guy with the Cubs. They wouldn't have made this move to bring him in if that wasn't the case. They have to obviously run a physical and all that to, finalize things, but we're fully expecting Pressly to take over. The Cubs are getting money. Interesting. I don't know. I haven't heard the full story here. I guess Pressly was just tired of setting up for Hader. I don't know. But he turned down a couple of offers, and anyway, he ends up with the Cubs, who strengthened their bullpen. Good move for the Cubs, especially since they're getting the Astros to pay some of his salary, $14 million. But that does, again, change Hodge, who now kind of becomes what Pressly was previously, a guy that you could draft, but, that kind of thing. Let's talk a little bit about the Astros, and this is really interesting what's happening here. The Astros are saying, their GM, Dana Brown, said it's a long shot that Alex Bregman will return to the Astros. At the same time, the manager, Joe Espada, said, I think we can still get you. So Bregman, at this point in time, is still looking for a home. He's one of the bigger free agents still left on the market. We're days away from February. Like, we're getting to the point, and we've talked about this too. You got to get signed, man. You can't go the Montgomery Snell route. You got to get into camp. You got to be there on day one. Like, if I'm a player, I got to do that. I got to be there on day one. So that we got a window here, an artificial window that I would look as pretty hard and fast. Bregman's got to make a decision. Let's hope he does that and doesn't delay things, trying to get more money till March. But we don't know what Bregman's going to play. There are rumors. Again, with the manager and the GM are saying different things about Bregman. The bottom line is Bregman hasn't signed with anybody. He's been with this team his whole career. I still think there's a legitimate chance he goes back to Houston. Now, we talked about this, right? They signed Isaac Paredes to play third base, and they signed Christian Walker to play first base. So, where does Bregman play? Well, we've heard a lot about Bregman playing second base if he went to, like, the Red Sox as an example, right? And I was talking to Phil Backer, the producer on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio for the Elite Sports Show, again, 3 to 6 Monday through Friday, he also does our IDP stuff at FantasyGuru.com. I was talking to him yesterday. We were going back and forth about this in text. There are multiple reports suggesting that the following could happen. If Alex Bregman re-signs with the Astros, Alex Bregman goes to third base, Christian Walker stays at first base, Isaac Paredes moves to second base, and Jose Altuve goes to the outfield. Now, in the fantasy game, if Paredes qualifies at first, third, and second base, that's wonderful. If Altuve qualifies infield, outfield, spectacular. We'll take this. Like, we love this. It's weird to me that, Altuve, I'm not saying athletically he couldn't handle the outfield and all this kind of stuff and, crash course and let's get him work out there. I feel like a lot of people that want to change, especially infield to outfield for players, they never play baseball. Like, you don't understand the game. I played infield my entire life. The only position I never played in a game was I never played an inning at center field or catcher. But I played every other position for like an inning or two. You get moved around late in the game. They want to get some kid in there and blah, blah, blah. So I played every position. I was ostensibly a first baseman, though. but I played every position. When you go from the infield to the outfield, everything is different. It's not about being athletic and, oh, he can run into the gap. Everything is different. You're not as involved in the game. You're staring at the sky more. You're not shifting as much. You're just, the pace is different in the outfield. The biggest change is the way the ball flies. The ball hooks differently. It flies differently. Catching a pop-up that's skied, in the infield is totally different than catching a 380-foot fly ball. Totally different. So I'm really, and I say this all the time with young players in particular. Well, the guy is drafted as a shortstop and they put him at third base. It's like, okay, but you drafted the kid to play shortstop. Jose Altuve is a second baseman. Now, I understand why this would occur because Isaac Paredes can't play the outfield. I get that. They can't put Alex Bregman in the outfield. I get that. They're not putting Christian Walker in the outfield. I get it. I get it. But is that really where we're at? Are teams so confident in their ability to tell, as an example, Jose Altuve, stand 6 steps to your right and back up 3 steps? They're so confident in their scouting report of where the batter's going to hit the ball that they're just going to stick a dude out there. Now, to his credit, Jose Altuve said, look, if the team needs me to play left field, I'll play left field. So kudos to him because he could easily tell the team to go to hell. And this guy's an all-time great with the Astros. If he wanted to tell the team, I'm not moving off second base, let's also remember the Crawford boxes and everything in Houston. It's not, 330, 370, 400. That's not going to be an easy left field for him to learn. So anyway, that could be what happens. So obviously, the Bregman signing is huge because it could open up the possibility for Paredes to pick up another position and more directly for Altuve, who we're talking about, to pick up an extra position. So keep a very close eye on that because that could be really exciting for Jose Altuve. You'll almost certainly still want to use him as a second baseman if this scenario plays out. But having the flexibility to move into the outfield if necessary would be a huge benefit because guys get hurt all the time. Speaking of a guy that got hurt, Ronald Acuna, we talked last week about Spencer Strider and his recovery from his elbow surgery. Ronald Acuna is coming back from his knee surgery. David O'Brien of The Athletic, kind of the dean of the guys that covers the team, is reporting what we all kind of anticipated, and that is that Ronald Acuna is going to miss the first month of the season. There was some hope that he could make it back for opening day. That always seemed like a stretch to me. Again, this is not from Acuna himself. This is not from the team directly, but come on. So, excuse me. He's going to begin the season on the injured list. We talked about the movement the team made in the outfield by signing Jurickson Profar last week and how when everyone's healthy, Brian De La Cruz is out of a job and they're going to have to mix and match here with some of the guys like Jared Kelenic. But for the first month of the season, De La Cruz and Kelenic probably form a loose platoon in the Acuna spot in the lineup in essence, with Kelenic playing most days. So Kelenic could have some early season value. If Kelenic hits the ground running and he hits 280 with 6 home runs in April and has a 380 on base percentage, they find a way to keep playing him once Acuna's back. We know how this goes. If he hits 212 with a 268 on base percentage, adios Kelenic. It's like, so the start of the season for him is going to be huge, even in NL only scenarios, because there's such a wide, with Harris, Acuna, and Profar in the outfield every day, and Ozuna at DH, like even if Kelenic starts hot, if no one gets hurt, and someone always gets hurt, but if no one gets hurt, it's really tough to get him in that lineup on a consistent basis. So Kelenic might be somebody, especially if you're playing like the head-to-head game. And again, remember head-to-head and rookie week this week at fantasyguru.com. Kelenic might be somebody to draft in like the last round or something like that because you're going to play him the first month of the season and let him go. But Acuna likely to miss the first month of the season. And then the follow-up is, what does his season look like? Last time he injured his knee, he came back and ran a ton. So it didn't impact him significantly there. He did forget how to lift the baseball into the air, though, so he didn't drive the ball well. So we got 2 things going on with Acuna. How much is he going to run and how well is he going to drive the baseball? 2 issues that make it very difficult to feel uber confident with paying the price you're likely going to have to pay for Acuna. And, for those people playing in the NFBC, fascinating to see how those people will handle that because you don't have IL spots there. If your league has IL spots, you have a little bit more comfort, obviously. But if you're drafting Acuna, no matter where you take him, obviously you have to build up depth in the outfield because it does sound like he's going to miss that first month of the season. Situation with Pete Alonso is such that Steve Cohen was talking to the media, and you can find it online. Not happy And he basically said that he didn't like the way the negotiations were going. Steve Cohen is the owner of the Mets, the guy writing the check. Didn't like the way the negotiations were going. He doesn't like the structure of the offers that are being presented. He said basically if things stay this way, I can't see us reaching an agreement. I mean, the assumption being, and I didn't see Cohen specifically say this, but the assumption is that, Cohen wants, I got some fuzz on my beard here. No one told me I had fuzz on my beard. Come on, folks. The assumption being that Alonso must want opt-outs, and the Mets are just like, no. And I've talked about opt-outs, right? Opt-outs are the worst thing ever invented. The greatest thing ever for a player and the worst thing ever for an organization. If I'm a team and I got to give you an opt-out for you to sign with my team, I'm not signing you. You got to want it. You're either going to want to be here or you're not. I'm not giving you a 5-year contract that you can get out of in 2 years. No. Unless you give me the option to kick you out in 2 years. Goes both ways. You say I can cancel your contract, which you can't do. Otherwise, so I'm not doing any opt-outs. And it sounds like Steve Cohen, my guess, doesn't want to do that either. So what that means, and again, this is a scenario we have to watch very closely as well, because Vientos, who's currently the third baseman, probably moves to first base if Alonso doesn't sign. And then third base is Mauricio, Acuna, and Beatty. Maybe Beatty plays some first base too, because he's done that. But it's probably going to be Vientos at first, which would give him first and third. And then Beatty, Acuna, and Mauricio will battle for third base, and that could be a mess all season long. Someone there could get 450 plate appearances and be a significant fantasy factor we're not even talking about right now. So that's a scenario to watch very, very closely all throughout camp to see who ends up playing third base for the Mets if they do indeed end up not signing Pete Alonso. There's rumors to Toronto still floating around. Speaking of the Mets, though, Brandon Nimmo, and Brandon Nimmo is a really good player. He's very, very consistent performance-wise on a per plate appearance basis. He's not uber consistent in terms of the workload. And that's been something that has obviously dogged him. It's why he falls a little bit further in drafts than he probably should. All the advanced measures love this guy. Maybe he falls a little bit too because he doesn't run much, though. Stole 15 bases last year. Unexpected. Never had double-digit steals before, so he went to 15. That's really nice. He actually went 20-15 last year. He scored at least 88 runs in 3 consecutive seasons. And last year he had a career best 90 RBIs. So he's a really good performer. I heard the report. Actually, I didn't hear the report. I read the report, if I say it properly. And there are all these quotes about, Nimmo and what's going on. He's got plantar fasciitis in his left foot. And he basically, this was the quote, "The biggest thing is to be ready for opening day. To get to that point where you're just going to try and go as fast as the foot will let us. I'm in the jogging progression now. Hopefully they will get to the sprinting level and they'll be able to get back to it. It should be good, but obviously there will be steps forward and backwards through all of it," unquote. Plantar fasciitis is basically the arch of your foot, and it's extremely painful. And when you get it, it's a management issue. And by that, I mean it's a pain tolerance management issue. And the biggest way to deal with it, if you don't have surgery, the biggest way to deal with it is just not to do anything. You need rest. I read this report and we dropped him in the rankings at fantasyguru.com. Maybe it ends up being nothing, but he's had the offseason to rest. It's still there. He's talking about not being able to run at full speed right now. And again, we're not even playing games yet, but still, I'm wary. I'm backing off Brandon Nimmo. If he starts looking better, if we get more positive reports, we can start to get more back into Brandon Nimmo. But don't forget this. Because again, plantar fasciitis doesn't go away. And last season, again, the thing that really helped Nimmo, that kind of elevated him in the fantasy space, was stealing the 15 bases. He's going to get on base. We know that. But if he's going to steal 5 bases because his foot hurts instead of 15 bases because his foot feels good, that drastically changes his outlook, or especially, at least in terms of where we're drafting him. Right? He can still score his 90 runs, not stealing bases and all that. Sure, he's still going to have his 350 on base percentage. But if he's not able to run, it dings his value in a significant way. So again, I'm lessening the excitement with Brandon Nimmo. Drew Thorpe, the youngster, and here's another one that might be nothing. But Drew Thorpe of the White Sox, he had a cortisone shot after having some soreness in his elbow. They're calling it a minor setback. No big deal. Okay. He had a bone spur in his elbow removed in September. It's almost February. That's not good. You should have had 2 months, maybe 3 if we're going nuts. October, November, December. We're 4 months. That's not good that he's had the setback. It's not good that he's getting a cortisone injection. It's not good what we saw on the field last season from Thorpe, who's that change-up specialist. Another guy that's just like, meh. I mean, you want to spend a late round pick in an AL only league, go for it. In a mixed league, you can't. Not only do we have a very low bar for victories in terms of what the White Sox are likely to produce this season, we also have the fact that Thorpe did not look sharp in his major league experience last year, and now he got an elbow that, again, should be okay by now. Everyone's saying no big deal. Might be a big deal. And then finally, Trevor Bauer. He's going to Japan. He pitched for the same team. What team is it? The Yokohama Bay Stars. He pitched for them in 2023. Last year, he went to Mexico. This year, he's going back to Japan. His career is obviously over at the major league level. So if you are some person that seemingly always believed and thought, he's your last guy in your dynasty league team, it's not happening. He's made what I don't want to say something here that's not accurate. Whatever he did or didn't do was enough for major league teams to just say, no, we're out. And was it fair? Was it right? I wasn't in the room. You weren't in the room. I don't know. But teams made their decision and they've moved on. So he's still vocal. He's still out there. He's still playing baseball. He's 35 now. He last pitched in the big leagues in 2021, long time ago. But he signed a deal with Japan. And again, there's not a ton of news that really broke in baseball over the weekend. So I figured I'd just mention that again for those random people that might, for some reason, still have him on a squad. Let's see here. Some more comments. You guys, again, remember, go to fantasyguru.com, sign up for the package. Subscribe tab, top right corner. Go to Twitter X at the Ray Flowers. Vote on the head-to-head roto thing. I'll talk about the results tomorrow. Right now, as we look at the voting, pretty close. So head over to fantasyguru.com, sign up for the package. Head over to my Twitter page at the Ray Flowers and vote there. Which is your favorite roto or head-to-head? Let's see here. Where I'm trying to find where we start talking baseball. Baseball. Let's see here. ESPN baseball drafts are open? Yeah, I'm sure they are. They should be open. Let's go. Let's make it happen, kids. Then we got talk about, you got Sean and Angela having a discussion about Medicare. Okay. Glad you guys are friends. It's really cool, by the way, that people strike up friendships here on the show. I love that. Angela says, do you ever watch Foul Territory? Great live show. Skeens and Scuba were live Saturday night from the Writers Awards. Speaking of Skeens, Skeens says he's going to try to throw more strikes early in the count. That report came out. He looked at Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal and said, what's the big difference between those guys and me last year? And the big difference was those guys threw more strike ones. So Skeens apparently is going to try to get ahead in the count more. Batters don't want to hear that. But if he does that, success obviously will improve. I think his percentage of first pitch strikes is like 7% lower. It's basically league average, a little bit above, but like 7% lower than like Chris Sale. Big difference. So there you go. And then Angelo, Third Bauer's YouTube channel is entertaining. I've heard the same. So there you go. All right, folks. So that's today's show. A little bit shorter than normal, but that's okay. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com, get signed up. We got the head-to-head articles dropping this week. We got the rookie articles dropping this week. I'm starting to dive into some of the more in-depth analysis now. We did a lot of the big picture, broad things. We're going to start getting in more involved. We're going to talk average bases allowed. What is that, and why do you need to know what it is? We're going to talk SWIP. We're going to talk CSW. We're going to talk the matrix of leadership, which players qualified in all these categories that offered the best overall season last year, even if it wasn't something that popped on the fantasy space. We'll start doing a lot of these analyses as we hit the month of February. Let's see here. Let me open this up and just, because I have a whole schedule. Surprisingly, I have a whole schedule of what I'm going to be doing. I know some of you might be surprised by that. Next week, we're going to have history of the first round. What categories should you add in fantasy baseball? There's some you should remove. Again, the matrix of leadership and matrix for hitting and pitching, we'll do that. We'll SWIP and average base allowed. The following week, as we head into time for Valentine's Day. Get your Valentine's stuff in order, folks. It's getting pretty late if you're looking for dates and all that kind of stuff at restaurants. Building the perfect hitter, building the perfect pitcher. Those are more of the, let's combine a bunch of categories and see who emerges as someone who's very good or proficient in all these categories. We'll start talking a lot about the strikeouts, making contact, and then we'll start diving into the StatCast data, batted ball, launch angles, barrel rates, all that kind of stuff. And we'll touch on some of that stuff on the show. Now that we're to the point where football, again, is down to one game, we'll have more time to talk about things on the show. Would really encourage everyone, again, to go to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab, sign up. You can follow along as we discuss things here on the show. And just so you're all aware, we'll discuss these things on the show. As I've not done and won't do here, I don't talk about rankings. We moved Presley up the rankings. I didn't say where he is in the rankings, right? I say, if Bregman signs, Jose Altuve, the rankings are updated all the time, but those are going to be left in private, behind the curtain, the paywall for those people that subscribe at fantasyguru.com. We'll do what we've done to this point, which is talk about everything. But the actual nitty-gritty, if you want to have the answers, subscribe at fantasyguru.com. All right, so we'll be back on Tuesday tomorrow. We'll be visiting with Armando Marsal. He'll come on about halfway through the show. We will finish discussing with him tomorrow's tight ends. So we'll finish looking at, we've done quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers with Armando. Tomorrow we'll do tight ends. Wednesday I'll be with Jeff Manns on the Elite Sports Show. Thursday, Tyler Beaker and I will have a discussion here, and then Friday's Russell Clay's day. So we're keeping the team here. We're going to do those 3 guests at least through March. Not quite sure yet how we're going to handle things once it's full baseball in April, but I'll keep everyone apprised of what's going on here, both at Fantasy Guru and here on the show. So thanks for watching today. Remember, tell a friend. Appreciate y'all. Have a great start to your week. Have a great week, and we'll be back here tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.